Hey, good morning, fourth graders. We haven't done any social studies lessons lately, so we're going to be doing this probably the next 2 weeks. Just kind of like our science videos, I want you to listen. No more than 10 minutes is all the video is going to be. And what I want you to do is to pay attention and find something that you learned or that you thought was interesting. So I'm going to have to probably go over to the computer. I'm going to be off screen, but I'm going to be helping you track with the document camera. So we do these are at the beginning of every book that we do, and we're learning about the frontier era of North Dakota. Which of the following has something to do with the frontier era of North Dakota? Eating cattails, the greatest land geographer of all time, a man having a baby, an invention that did not exist anywhere else in the world, a sound heard 5 miles away, the greatest adventure in American history, one of the most famous women in the history of the United States, Chief Redhead, she saved her life by singing, attacked day and night by tiny creatures, barking squirrels, a 19-year-old woman who saved a fort, and Suds Road. So which of the choices above has something to do with the frontier era of North Dakota? The answer is, of course, all of them. So I'm going to slide over to the computer so that I can have you guys see the whole introduction. I'll zoom in a little bit. If I can get it all in there. There we go. Okay, so we're looking at the introduction part. It says a frontier is a region at the edge of a settled area of country. An era is a period of time. So a frontier is just an area that hasn't been settled yet, and an era is a period of time. So it's the period of time that North Dakota was unsettled and hadn't been explored. Between the years of approximately 1738 to 1870, the area that is now North Dakota was considered a frontier. Euro-Americans, Americans with European ancestry, sometimes called whites, were just beginning to explore, trade, and settle the region. So the point here is that from the time that people started settling here in North America till about 1870, this place was not inhabited by many people, which is what makes it a frontier. Okay, moving on to the next page. Before and during the frontier era, however, North Dakota was not an empty wilderness. People had been living in the area for thousands of years. We know that the Mandan and Hidatsa agricultural farming tribes lived in permanent homes along the Missouri and Knife River and carried on very active trading business with other tribes such as the Dakota Nation. The Arikara tribe lived farther south along the Missouri and came to North Dakota later. The nomadic Dakota tribe covered all parts of North Dakota, moving from place to place as they followed the herds of bison. The Chippewa, Ojibwa Indians from the forests of Minnesota and Wisconsin also traveled into North Dakota to hunt and trap. Because of the vast trade network among tribes, manufactured goods from countries in Europe had made their way to North Dakota long before any non-Indian came to the area. So what you should take away from that is that people did live here. It was frontier to the Euro-Americans that were living in the eastern part of the United States in the colonies, but to the American Indian tribes, this wasn't a frontier. The Mandan and Hidatsa had lived here for years and years, and the Dakota and Ojibwa nations, they would come and trade in this area. And because they would travel around these American Indian tribes, they had traded with whites or Euro-Americans, and some of those goods had come to North Dakota before Europeans actually got here. Our next section is early exploration. When Europeans first started arriving on the continent of North America, they began making claims of ownership on the land. By the 1700s and 1800s, Great Britain, France, and Spain were the most powerful European nations. and they each claimed part of the North American continent as their own. Sometimes disputes would arise because more than one nation would claim the same land. In fact, within about a 75-year time span, Great Britain and France fought 4 wars in North America. In the early 1700s, France claimed possession of Canada. France also claimed all of the land drained by the Mississippi River and its tributaries. A tributary is a river that flows into another river. The French named this huge tract of land Louisiana, in honor of their king, Louis XIV. So we still have a state called Louisiana, and that's named after the territory that they had called Louisiana. The southwestern half of North Dakota was included as part of this territory because the Missouri River and its tributaries flow into the Mississippi River. Make sure this is all in there so you can read along with me. In the palaces of the royal families in France and other European countries, fur hats and clothing decorated with fur became fashionable. In time, other people who wanted to copy the fashions of the royal families also began wearing fur. The result was that pelts, hides with fur, from beaver, fox, mink, marten, and other fur-bearing animals from North America became very valuable. Fur trappers and traders were making good profits. Which brings us to this guy, who I'm sure you guys have already heard about, Pierre La Verendrye. And he's a very important person in our history. In 1738, a French fur trapper and trader named Pierre La Verendrye, you can try saying that on your own, Pierre La Verendrye, came to North Dakota from Canada. La Verendrye is often credited with being the first non-Indian to set foot in North Dakota, but it is possible that other non-Indians may have been here earlier. The reason that La Verendrye gets credit for being the first is that he kept a journal and wrote about his travel experiences. And I know I've talked to my class about that when you're walking along the border between what is now Canada and North Dakota, or even Minnesota and North Dakota, and all the different places that are considered different places now, you don't know when you cross that line. There may have been other trappers that set traps in North Dakota but never recorded it. So because Pierre La Verendrye made notes, and we could look at his journal and see where he was and his experiences, we could verify that he was here in 1738. La Verendrye was not looking for new sources for fur, or was not only looking for new sources for fur, but he also believed that there was a water route leading all the way to the Pacific Ocean. At that time, no maps existed of the area between the Mississippi River and the Pacific Ocean. Some Assiniboine Indians in Canada had told La Verendrye that the Earth Lodge people along the Missouri River could tell him how to find the great river that flowed to the Western Sea. So that would have been the Mandan or Hidatsa. La Verendrye and his party entered North Dakota from Canada at the Turtle Mountains and proceeded southward toward the Missouri River. On December 3rd, 1738, they reached a Mandan village about a day's journey from the Missouri River. In his journal writings, La Verendrye stated that the Mandan Indians were friendly and helpful. He also mentioned that there were many earth lodges so close together that his men almost got lost in the village. La Verendrye soon learned that the Mandan Indians had never seen the Western Sea and could not tell him how to get there. La Verendrye went back to Canada, where he became ill and died. And that's where I think that we're probably going to stop for today. Again, what I would like you to do is try and think about something that you learned from this. There's a lot of different stuff. Maybe another thought that you could have is, why isn't there a river that flows from North Dakota all the way west to the Pacific Ocean, like Washington State, Oregon, California? That would be kind of a critical thinking thing for you. So this is going to be a discussion. Make sure you comment on it. So this kind of takes the place of an actual math lesson on Friday. You guys have a great day. Have a great weekend.